Okay, so I'm gonna try something a little different here because every time I do a bum review, I always have like a little sentence that says what I really thought of the movie, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, what do you mean by that? Is there more to it, or what are your real thoughts?" So with every bum review now, I'm just gonna do my own review under it if you want to know what I really thought. So first one is Thor. I literally just got back from watching it. As you can probably see, I just got done doing the bum review too. And honestly, just after leaving it, I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I haven't read the comics, so I don't know how faithful it is. I mean, it certainly looks like Thor. I mean, he's got the red cape, he's got the helmet, though he doesn't wear the helmet much, which is probably a good thing. But actually, surprisingly, it didn't look that bad on him. So maybe he should have worn it a little more. But for me, when I heard they were making a Thor movie, I was just like, what? The wings in the helmet? Come on, you can't make that. You know, you can't do that and not laugh at it. But then when I heard Kenneth Branagh was going to direct it, I thought, okay, this can work. This can be interesting because everything he does is so big and over the top, and even when it fails, it's so big and it's so entertaining. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a good example. It's a terrible movie, but it's just so huge and so massive, and he just goes balls out. And this film is the same thing. If you were to look at anything, pretty much anything in this movie individually, a set, a costume, anything just on its own, you would probably laugh at it. But because he creates this world and just goes all out, I mean, just throws a ton of money at this. You got Bo Welch as the production designer, just creates this incredible world. And just these great designs. The costume design is unbelievable. It's sort of like watching an opera, sort of a modern day opera, and they get really creative with it. So I really like that aspect a lot, the look of the film. In a sense that, I don't want to say that's a problem, because it's not a problem, but about 20 minutes in, it goes into the fish out of water story. And it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's sort of like Up. You're not gonna top the opening. You're not gonna top, with Up, I think it was like the first 10 minutes. With this, I think it's like the first 20. The worlds they create are so cool and so awesome that when you get to the middle of the desert, it's like, okay, and we know this shtick. But it's done well. And I want to emphasize that because a lot of these fish out of water stories, they usually do, you know, the fish out of water is a grump and he hates everything and he questions everything and he's angry that he can't understand, and the person that has to take care of him or her, usually it's a woman, she gets angry. What's wrong with you? You're crazy. And he, for whatever reason, sticks around with him. In this, it's done much better because you have Thor. He is a little bit of a barbarian. Like, he'll finish a drink and he says, "I want more." He throws it on the ground. And Natalie Portman would say, "You don't do that." He's like, "Why? Just you don't." He goes, "Okay." And he actually listens, and they actually like learning from each other. They don't get really angry, which you could argue maybe is a little unrealistic, but because we've seen this so many times in movies, I think it's welcomed that you want to see these people actually enjoy learning and enjoy finding out about the other. So it's done okay, and the comedy is actually pretty good. Natalie Portman is surprisingly pretty decent too. I don't hate Natalie Portman or anything. I usually just find her acting very, there's Natalie Portman, there she went, just nothing much to it. But I think ever since Black Swan, it's like now she took this performance that is just sort of your standard, where just the normal person showing around performance. Actually did make it sort of, she's very optimistic and she's very energetic and, wants to find out more and stuff. And she's very likable, and Thor is very likable. And it works because he's cocky and he wants to rush into things, but he's not a total idiot either. You understand where he's coming from, and you do sort of believe the change he goes through. And the actor is great. The actor who plays him is very believable. All the actors are actually very believable. Nobody was like, okay, I'm not buying that. You buy it. So that's very good. Everything in this movie is very large and very big. Because of that, it sort of suffers from like the Lord of the Rings Matrix principles, where there's about a bajillion plot points that don't make sense. There's a scene where they freeze this guy I think in the last third of the movie, and of course, anyone would just kill him after that. You even see the ice monster. There's ice monsters in this. It's better than it sounds. And you see the ice monsters freeze these people and smash them. It's like, why didn't they just do it with this guy? Because obviously he's gonna escape. There's this rainbow bridge, you know, that's sort of, it's magic and technological. Again, I think that's the comics. It's like a mix of both. And it, like, at the end, something happens to it, without giving away too much. And somebody's like, no, what are we gonna do? And of course, I'm thinking, build another one. You made it before. And there's this one point where Thor throws his hammer down and like, oh, the land crumbles and mountains come coming down. Of course, why hasn't he done that a bajillion times before? You know, so there's a lot of those it's magic bitch moments where you just, it's magic, that's it. So if you're gonna nitpick, it's not a good movie for nitpickers. So I'll say that out there. Like I say, in terms of the comics, I don't know how well I followed it either. But for what it is, just sort of a fun, big comic book movie, action movie, I thought it was pretty decent. I would have liked at the end, there's a lot of build-up. The first 20 minutes is like the best part of the movie. And there's a lot of build-up for great big things. The climax, I didn't feel like much was at risk. And again, without giving away too much, there's people that Thor wants to save, and you sort of go, well, okay, yeah, but I'm not that invested in these people. And they've given us lots of reason not to be invested in these people, and he's just sort of doing it because it's the right thing. Well, great, but it's not a huge climax. It's not, when he gets the hammer back and he flies up there and he spins around the clouds, you're expecting a really big, cool, a climax of the gods, and it's, okay, it's decent. It's a decent climax. And of course, they have to save room for the sequels, whatever, the Avengers and stuff like that. So, it's not terrible, it's just not as big as you're sort of hoping it's going to be. But, for what it is, I'm glad they got Kenneth Branagh, because I think he's the only one that can make this movie work, because this is a very silly movie to bring to life, and he did a good job, and I was shocked at how much I was buying into this and having fun with it. So, yeah, overall, I liked it. It's definitely, not perfect, but I had a really good time. I think people who go to see this movie will probably like what they see. I think they'll sort of feel like what I did, almost like with the Iron Man movies. They want a bigger resolution, they want a bigger climax, and, it's okay. And I think when they see the trailers, they're gonna want something much bigger at the end, and they're not quite gonna get it, but there's the promise of more, which I know, anyone that likes comic books likes to be continued, and there's, Marvel movies are very good at that, so, yeah, so there it is. That's my thoughts on Thor, and yeah, I think with every bum review now, I'm just always gonna have a review on the bottom just saying what I really thought of it as well. So that's about it, and I'll see you next review.